My name is Raymond Cole. I'm 63 years old. I live, or I used to live, in a small town called Millbrook, about 40 minutes outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm not a complicated man. Never was. I worked with my hands my whole life. 31 years in construction. I built houses for other people before I ever built one for myself. And when I finally did build my own house, I built it with every dollar I had saved, every weekend I had sacrificed, and every dream my late wife Margaret and I had ever whispered to each other under the covers on cold winter nights. Margaret passed 6 years ago. Breast cancer. She was 57. We had 32 years together, and I would have given anything for 32 more. After she was gone, I kept going. For our son, Daniel. For the grandchildren I hoped he would one day give me. For the house she loved. For the life we built. I kept going because that is what a man like me does. You don't stop. You don't fall apart. You carry it. But here is what nobody tells you about being strong for everyone around you. Sometimes the people you carry start to mistake your strength for stupidity, your patience for weakness, your silence for surrender. And that is exactly what happened to me. Daniel was a good boy. I mean that with everything I have. He was never perfect. No child is. But he was kind. He used to sit beside me in the garage on Saturday mornings, handing me tools he barely knew the names of, just to be near me, just to be with his dad. I coached his Little League team. I drove him to every college interview. When he couldn't afford the first semester at State, I picked up a second job and never told him how tired I was. He graduated, got a job in finance, met a woman named Serena. Serena. She was polished, confident, the kind of woman who made everything around her feel like a stage and everyone else feel like the audience. I tried to like her. I genuinely tried. She had a sharp smile that never quite reached her eyes. She asked questions that sounded like compliments but landed like knives. When she shook my hand at Thanksgiving that first year, she looked at my calluses and said with that smile, "Oh, Raymond, you really have worked hard, haven't you?" Not a question, a verdict. But Daniel loved her. So I kept my mouth shut. That was the first of many silences. They got married 2 years later. Beautiful wedding. I paid for most of it. Never mentioned that to anyone. At first, things seemed fine on the surface. They bought a condo in the city. Daniel got a promotion. Serena started decorating the place like it was a magazine shoot. But I started noticing things. Small things at first. When I called Daniel, Serena always seemed to be nearby. He would lower his voice, keep calls short. "Yeah, Dad, I'll call you back." He rarely did. When I visited, Serena would greet me at the door with that smile and a list of reasons we couldn't stay long. "Daniel has an early meeting. We have plans with friends. Maybe next time, Raymond." My brother Gerald noticed it too. Gerald is younger than me by 4 years, always been the talker in the family. He pulled me aside at a family barbecue once and said, "Ray, that woman is slowly cutting you out. You see that, right?" I told him he was reading too much into it. I should have listened to Gerald. But I was still telling myself the story that every father tells himself when he doesn't want to see the truth. My son still loves me. He's just busy. He's building his life. Give him space. So I gave him space. And into that space, Serena poured poison. I found out later, much later, what was happening behind those closed doors. Serena had been working on Daniel for months. Subtle at first. A comment here, a sigh there. The kind of manipulation that doesn't look like manipulation until you step back far enough to see the full picture. "Your dad is so old-fashioned. He makes me uncomfortable, honestly. I just think we need boundaries, Daniel. Healthy couples don't let their parents run their lives." She never told him to cut me off. She was too smart for that. She just made him feel that choosing her meant slowly choosing less of me. And Daniel, my son, the boy I coached and drove and sacrificed for, let it happen. Not all at once. Gradually. Like a light being dimmed so slowly you don't realize it's dark until you can't see it all. The calls became monthly, then occasional, then almost never. I stopped being invited to dinners, then holidays. Then one Christmas, I sat alone in the house I built with my own hands, With a plate of food Margaret's sister dropped off out of pity, and I stared at the chair where my son used to sit, and I let myself cry. Just that once. Just that night. Then I stopped. And I started thinking. The moment that changed everything happened on a Sunday evening in March. Daniel called me out of nowhere. First time in almost 2 months. I picked up on the second ring like I always did because no matter how long the silence was, I was always there when he called. But it wasn't a real call. It wasn't, "Hey Dad, I miss you." His voice was flat, rehearsed, like he had practiced the words, or worse, like someone had written them for him. "Dad, Serena and I have talked, and we think it's best if we take some space. You have a way of making things difficult. We need to focus on our family now. Our family. Like I wasn't family. Like 31 years of being his father had been quietly reclassified. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I asked him one question. Daniel, is this what you want? Or is this what she told you to want? Silence. 3 seconds of silence. And then, "Goodbye, Dad." The line went dead. I set the phone down on the kitchen counter. I looked around the house. Margaret's curtains were still on the windows. Her handwriting was still on the recipe cards in the drawer. Her picture was still on the wall. And I made a decision in that moment. A quiet, calm, unshakable decision. I was not going to fall apart. I was going to get organized. I spent the next 3 weeks going through everything. Every document, every account, every property record, every financial decision I had ever made that involved my son. And what I found made the phone call feel like a minor inconvenience. Over the past 4 years, I had given Daniel money 11 separate times. Small amounts, large amounts, a loan for their car, help with a down payment on a bigger apartment, emergency money when Serena's shopping habit exceeded what their salaries could cover. I had given him, I calculated it carefully, $87,000. Not $1 was ever repaid. Not one conversation about repayment was ever had. Because I never asked. Because I was his father and I trusted him. And then I found something else. A conversation. Daniel had called me once from his laptop and forgotten to hang up completely. I had saved the voicemail by accident, meaning to call him back, never deleting it. I played it now. 12 minutes of background audio, and in the middle of it, Serena's voice, clear and sharp. "He's old, Daniel. He's not going to be around much longer. The house is worth at least $400,000 now. We need to make sure our names are somewhere on it before anything happens to him. Otherwise your cousins will swoop in and take everything." And Daniel's voice, quiet, uncertain, but not objecting. "I'll figure it out." I played it 3 times. Then I called a lawyer. His name was Arthur Briggs. Been practicing estate and property law in Nashville for 30 years. Margaret had used him once for a small matter, and I had kept his card. I sat across from Arthur on a Tuesday morning and I laid everything out. The money, the recordings, the silence, the phone call. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and said, "Raymond, you haven't done anything legally wrong, but neither has your son. Yet. What we need to do is make sure that whatever you have built is protected completely before anyone can touch it." We spent 4 hours in that office. When I walked out, the house was in a trust. My assets were restructured. The financial gifts I had given Daniel were formally documented as loans, with interest, effective immediately. That last part was Arthur's idea. I smiled when he suggested it. First real smile in months. Then I did something else, something that required patience, something I had to keep completely to myself. I wrote letters, 3 of them, one to Daniel, one to Serena, one to my brother Gerald, asking him to hold something for me and to deliver it only when I said so. Gerald didn't ask questions. That's always been his best quality. Then I went home. And I waited. 4 months passed. Then one afternoon, Daniel called again. Different tone this time. Warm. Almost too warm. The kind of warmth that only exists when someone wants something. "Dad. Hey. It's been too long. Serena and I were thinking, Maybe we should all have dinner together. Reconnect. Clear the air. You know? I said yes. Of course I said yes. I'm his father. The dinner was at our house, my house. Gerald was there too. Daniel had invited him, probably thinking he would be a buffer. He had no idea Gerald was already carrying my letter.